I was so frustrated and really wondering what I was going to do. My husband, he's almost 80 and has health issues, and I do as well. And so we really need the heat. And especially since we sold our home in Florida, which is where we usually would be in the wintertime. So we really wanted heat. So it was just, I don't know. I thought, is this a joke? I'm going to try it because I'm at that point where I've gotten nowhere on my own. I got nowhere. Going to the offices and emails after emails, physical letters in the mail slots, and I hadn't gotten anywhere. So I think you're awesome. AmeriGas. That's our propane company for our home, and we have had them for several years. We've been on an automatic refill. We typically are not really here too often in the wintertime. We used to always go to Florida. We sold that home, so we are just here. I don't think that had anything to do with their negligence because we're on an auto refill for the last over a year, and since we've been here full time. And so I started to get cold and started using my propane and realized that we didn't really need it in the summertime. So I thought that they would just, they check it all the time, supposedly. So I assumed that they were just going to start doing the auto refill because the winter was coming in and we're starting to use the propane. However, hadn't seen them come yet. So when I called, that was my first situation. And I like to go in person. They're really nice in the office. So I usually go in and they fill, and then I go in and make the payment. I called and I couldn't get anybody to respond. And it said, your wait time to hold to talk to a representative would be approximately, originally it started out as about 65 minutes hold time, wait time. I thought, well, that's ridiculous. So I went physically to the office. Well, the office looked like it was pretty much closed. I'm assuming but that's generally what's happening in the community anyway because of COVID. Most companies are not allowing consumers to come in and do the bills and all that. So I understood that. I didn't think too much of that. So I placed a notice inside the door. And then I started calling again. Well, the time wait, yeah, and we were calling for weeks. 9. It started out at 46 and went to 100 and something minutes to 121 minutes to wait on hold. Well, that's ridiculous. So I continually tried to contact them, never got any response. I contacted this consumer, and I tried also lots of emails, and I've also left messages in other AmeriGas offices. So I contacted PIS Consumer, and I finally got an email back from them, maybe a day or two after I contacted PIS Consumer, and it was a form email. It wasn't anything that was very personal, and so I just thought that was going to start the ball rolling. But then that was it. Then there was nothing. So again, the same. Then we got up to the 90 something minutes on the wait. So it finally got down to a point where I decided I'm going to just get up because I only had just a couple of gallons left, and I was pretty angry. So I got in the car and I decided that I was just going to go out and try to find an AmeriGas truck somewhere, of which I did. I was going toward their office, and we live on a lake, and I got about halfway there, and I passed a truck on State Highway 20 in Lucerne, going in the opposite direction. So I flipped a U-turn and I started following that truck. I got behind the truck and I was flashing and flashing and flashing, probably drove 2 or 3 miles. And then he finally pulled over and he said, "Who is this crazy woman following me for miles?" And he was a funny guy. He's the guy that actually installed the tank and was the normal delivery driver. And he was amazed and I was pretty angry, and I recognized him, and he was laughing. It was kind of a weird situation. And so then he followed me back, even though he was on another run. He followed me back, understood the situation. Evidently, everybody's been very angry as well. He filled my tank, and then 2 to 3 days later, another truck with a different driver. Was it the next day? Oh, then yeah. Next day, the guy showed up and said, he had our order to fill the tank, and it wasn't the same delivery driver. It was somebody else. So my experience with this consumer was, I feel like they most likely got the ball rolling. My husband's in the background saying, "Oh yeah, but he had to go get the dog. We can't be on this interview." So I feel that you started the ball rolling. I finally got it by being the crazy lady following the truck and flashing my lights, tooting my horn. But I do believe that this consumer, had I waited a little bit longer, I don't know when I would have gotten the propane, but I think I would have gotten a physical contact because they came after that. So I'm grateful. I did intervene on my own stubbornness and craziness and crazy driving. But I really feel that you went to bat for me. So I appreciate it very much. Thank you.